When we look around today, life can feel uncertain, prices shift, the economy moves in waves, and families everywhere feel the pressure of trying to stay stable in a world that keeps changing. And even though our modern challenges look different from the ancient world, there's a surprising source of wisdom that speaks directly into our situation. The story of Joseph in the Bible isn't just history, it's a real life journey through hardship, responsibility, leadership, and wise planning, something every person can relate to. Joseph didn't rise to influence because everything went smoothly. He rose because he learned how to navigate difficulty with wisdom, patience, and trust. His principles weren't loud or dramatic, but they lasted through years of abundance and years of famine. Today, those same principles still have the power to bring clarity, peace, and practical direction into the financial lives of everyday people here in the United States. And when we look closely at his story, we discover timeless truths that can steady us, guide us, and help us build lives that can withstand both opportunity and adversity. When we reflect on Joseph's journey, the first truth that rises to the surface is the idea that preparation is not a luxury. It's a form of wisdom that positions a person to endure whatever may come. Joseph didn't wait for the famine to appear before acting. He responded to God's insight with intention long before any crisis showed itself. This wasn't panic or fear, but a clear picture of what responsible stewardship looks like. In a culture today that often encourages living moment to moment, the example Joseph gives pushes us to think beyond the present day. It invites us to set foundations during calm seasons, so turbulence doesn't have the power to shake everything we've worked for. In the United States especially, where financial cycles rise and fall and unexpected expenses arrive without warning, preparation becomes a powerful stabilizer. Saving isn't simply about having extra money, it's about practicing a way of thinking that believes the future matters and is worth preparing for. Joseph shows that planning ahead is not a sign of weakness, but a demonstration of strength rooted in wisdom. Another truth we see from Joseph's life is that structure matters. He didn't store grain loosely or casually. He created a system, a process, an organized method to ensure the work of saving was consistent and effective. Without structure, even the best intentions can drift away. Many people today understand the importance of saving but struggle with the follow-through because there is no framework helping them stay aligned. Life becomes busy, demands arise, and without a clear system, savings end up being whatever is left at the end of the month, which often means very little. Joseph's approach teaches that structure is a quiet but powerful force. It eliminates guesswork and reduces emotional decision-making. In modern life, structure might look like setting up automatic transfers, keeping a written plan, or dividing money into specific categories. When there is a defined structure, commitment becomes simpler and results become more consistent. Joseph's example reminds us that structure transforms a good idea into a dependable habit. Joseph's practice of consistently storing a portion demonstrates a principle that holds its strength even today. Small, steady actions compound into life-changing results. He didn't wait until the barns were overflowing before deciding to save. He set a portion aside from every harvest, which over time created a stockpile large enough to sustain an entire nation. This teaches that effectiveness isn't about the size of the contribution, but the regularity of it. In today's economic climate, many people hesitate to save because they feel their contributions are too small to matter, but Joseph shows that consistency outruns intensity every time. A modest, regular act of saving is far more powerful than sporadic, short-lived bursts of effort. Consistency builds momentum, quiet confidence, and eventually financial stability. Just as the grain storehouses slowly filled over 7 years, modern savings grow little by little, often unnoticed at first, until they become a source of security and peace. Joseph's story also reminds us to think beyond the immediate moment. While it is natural to focus on monthly bills, short-term plans, or current needs, Joseph operated with a broader perspective. He was thinking years ahead, not days. This long-range vision allowed him to prepare for seasons that had not yet arrived. Today, long-term thinking can feel difficult because so much pulls our attention toward what is urgent rather than what is important. Yet Joseph teaches that the ability to look beyond the present opens doors to wiser decisions. Planning for retirement, caring for future family needs, investing in long-term goals, or preparing for possible changes in health or employment all reflect a mindset shaped by foresight rather than fear. Joseph didn't have the luxury of detailed forecasts or modern tools, but he had something even stronger, a mindset that valued anticipating what lay ahead. When we adopt this perspective, we begin building not just for ourselves, but for the generations that come after us. We also see in Joseph's life a powerful emphasis on integrity. When he managed Pharaoh's resources, he remained trustworthy, transparent, and faithful. Integrity is not often highlighted in discussions about money, but it forms the foundation of wise stewardship. Without integrity, resources slip through fingers, relationships break down, and opportunities diminish. With integrity, people become dependable, relationships strengthen, and trust, both from God and from others, increases. In everyday financial life, integrity means being honest with oneself about spending habits, telling the truth even when it is uncomfortable, and resisting shortcuts that promise quick results but compromise values. Joseph's unwavering character shows that integrity doesn't just protect resources, it multiplies them. People followed his leadership because they could trust him, and trust is one of the most valuable forms of currency a person can possess. Finally, Joseph teaches the importance of relying on wisdom rather than emotion when making decisions. When he interpreted Pharaoh's dream, he wasn't driven by fear of the famine or excitement about the years of abundance. He responded with clarity, calmness, and discernment. Emotional decisions, especially financial ones, often lead to regret. Impulse purchases, fear-driven reactions, or attempts to control circumstances through hurried choices can create unnecessary stress. Joseph models a different way of approaching challenges, slowing down, listening, seeking guidance, and making decisions rooted in wisdom rather than pressure. This attitude creates stability even when circumstances feel uncertain. In the American financial environment, where advertising, trends, and constant pressure often push people toward immediate gratification, Joseph's example encourages a thoughtful, patient, and grounded approach. These truths weave together to form a powerful picture of wisdom in action. Joseph didn't just survive the famine, he thrived because his approach to responsibility, planning, and trust created resilience. As we begin moving into the second part, we can explore how these same principles translate into practical, everyday life, and how they can form a strong financial foundation for modern individuals and families. When we turn these biblical principles toward the realities of everyday life, their depth and relevance become even clearer. Preparation, for example, is not merely a concept to admire but a practice that shapes the way we live. Preparing before a crisis allows a person to move through difficulties with steadiness instead of panic. It creates margin, both emotionally and financially. In a country where unexpected medical expenses, job changes, economic shifts, and emergencies can arrive suddenly, preparation becomes an act of care not only for oneself, but for the people around us. It creates room to breathe. It allows decisions to be made thoughtfully instead of reactively. Joseph's preparation helped him shepherd an entire nation through crisis. In our lives, preparation may not involve famine, but it can protect us from debt, stress, and the anxiety of being unprepared when life takes an unexpected turn. Preparation isn't about predicting the future, it's about building a foundation strong enough to support you regardless of what the future holds. Structure, too, becomes a powerful ally in modern financial life. Many people want stability but struggle to build habits that support it. Without structure, money tends to follow emotion and impulse, but when a person sets up a system that aligns with their goals, the system itself carries much of the weight. Joseph's organized storage plan turned a massive responsibility into manageable steps. In the same way, creating a thoughtful structure, whether through budgeting tools, designated accounts, or intentional planning, simplifies the entire process. Structure removes guesswork and reduces stress. It creates clarity, which leads to confidence. When money has a purpose, it also becomes easier to resist the distractions that lead to overspending. Structure provides a sense of control, not by restricting freedom, but by directing it. Just as Joseph used order to transform abundance into long-term security, individuals today can use structure to turn income into stability and stability into opportunity. The practice of storing a portion is one of the simplest and yet most transformational principles. It is the slow, steady drip of consistency that fills the reservoir. Many people feel discouraged because their savings grow slowly, but Joseph's method shows that slow growth is not a weakness. It is the natural path to lasting strength. When a person sets aside even a small amount consistently, they are not just building financial resources. They are building discipline, hope, and a sense of empowerment. This approach eliminates the pressure of trying to save large sums all at once. It honors the reality of everyday life, where expenses vary and income fluctuates. By making saving a routine rather than a rare event, the process becomes as natural as breathing. Joseph didn't wait for perfect conditions. He used what was available to him. In the same way, modern individuals can begin wherever they are, trusting that consistency will carry them farther than intensity ever could. Long-term thinking elevates the entire process, while short-term actions matter. Long-term vision gives direction and meaning to those actions. Joseph wasn't preparing for the next month. He was preparing for the next 7 years. This level of foresight teaches us that stability doesn't happen by accident. It is the result of thinking beyond immediate wants and envisioning what life could look like years down the road. Long-term thinking encourages people to consider what they want their future to be, whether that means financial independence, the ability to support family, or the peace that comes from having no debt. It shifts the focus from momentary satisfaction to lasting well-being. In a culture that often emphasizes the present moment, long-term thinking becomes a countercultural act of wisdom. It broadens perspective, strengthens resolve, and helps a person make choices aligned with who they want to become, not just how they feel today. Integrity remains a central pillar throughout this entire process. Without integrity, no amount of planning or saving can create true stability. Integrity brings unity between a person's values and their actions. It builds trust within families, workplaces, and communities. It also brings clarity to personal financial decisions. When a person operates with integrity, they become more honest about their spending patterns, more responsible with their commitments, and more thoughtful with their decisions. Joseph's integrity positioned him for influence and opened doors that would have remained closed otherwise. In modern life, integrity might show up in simple ways such as paying bills on time, honoring commitments, being truthful about financial limitations, or avoiding shortcuts that compromise character. Integrity creates a foundation that money alone cannot build. It strengthens relationships, calms the mind, and aligns a person's financial life with their deeper values. Over time, integrity becomes a kind of wealth, one that offers stability, respect, and peace. Wisdom, rather than emotion, completes this holistic picture. Emotional decisions often feel right in the moment, but can create long-term issues. Fear might push someone to make rash choices, while excitement might lead to overspending. Joseph's ability to pause, listen, and respond with clarity shows the power of wisdom in action. Wisdom considers consequences. Wisdom listens before acting. Wisdom understands timing. When people use wisdom to guide their decisions, they navigate financial life with greater peace and assurance. Wisdom helps create distance between impulse and action, giving room to consider whether a decision aligns with long-term goals. This doesn't mean ignoring emotions. It means not letting them be the drivers. Wisdom is steady, calm, and patient. It allows a person to stay grounded even when circumstances are uncertain. In the American financial environment, where advertisements and trends constantly pull at attention, wisdom becomes a shield that protects from unnecessary mistakes. It helps people build a financial life marked by purpose rather than pressure. When these principles come together, they form a way of living that reflects both practical wisdom and spiritual grounding. They guide a person to prepare responsibly, to build structure intentionally, to save consistently, to think long-term, to act with integrity, and to choose wisdom over impulse. Joseph's story isn't just a historical account. It's a mirror that reflects the kind of approach that leads to stability and resilience in any era. His journey shows that financial wisdom isn't about wealth itself. It's about stewardship, character, and trust. It's about aligning one's actions with values and building a life that can endure seasons of both abundance and difficulty. When individuals today embrace these principles, they become more prepared for whatever life brings. They gain peace of mind that doesn't depend on circumstances. They develop habits that strengthen their families, their futures, and their communities. Joseph's example proves that wisdom is timeless and that the lessons of Scripture continue to offer guidance that is both practical and transformative. What began as a story about one man's responsibility in ancient Egypt becomes a living blueprint for anyone seeking stability, clarity, and purpose in their financial journey today.